So Studio One 6.6 just dropped, and I've kind of been hesitant to make a video on it until now, and I'll get to my reasonings on that in just a second. But I want to preface this whole video by saying these are my unedited and unfiltered thoughts. Presonus is not sponsoring this video. These are my thoughts of my own, and I'm going to tell the truth, and because of that, I might make people mad. But I'm okay with that because I'd rather tell the truth. And I'm also going to get pretty nerdy at the end of this video, so you might want to stick around for that. But this whole thing started from a text I got from one of my students who has my Studio One course. He said, "Come on, bro, where's that Studio One 6.6 review? Presonus has been getting slammed this week." And this is actually the first I'd heard about Presonus really getting slammed. I knew about the update, but I've been renovating my house, and so I haven't had a lot of time to focus on like updates and those extra things. I've kind of been more focused on when I get to the studio, because I do this professionally. When I get into the studio, I need to make sure that like I'm doing the work that I'm supposed to do, producing music for other artists and mixing and mastering and all that fun stuff. I haven't had time to dive into a new update. So when I got this text message, I realized I probably had to dive into it. And I saw Ivan, he had actually texted me his amazing YouTube channel where he also teaches Studio One. He's awesome. He's got some really great stuff on Studio One. And I saw his video and he actually sent me a text and was talking a little bit about the update, about how they had just dropped the update. And then I didn't think too much of it until I got this text from one of my students. And so I decided that I probably had to update it and figure out exactly what's going on in this update. And that's when I decided to update it and then give it some time. I actually wanted to go through it and really check out this update and give my honest opinions on the whole thing. So first off, let's talk about what's actually new inside of this Studio One 6.6 update. So first and foremost is the big talk of this update is this new synth called Lead Architect, which not everybody has access to, which I will talk about in just a second. Secondly is Spacial audio for Apple. This is for Mac only though, and I run everything basically from my PC. I do have a MacBook, very rarely use it, only for like remote work and stuff. Most of the time, like when I'm in the studio here, I'm using my PC and I prefer PC, which is one of the main reasons I actually switched from Logic to Studio One back in the day, because I built this powerful PC and needed a DAW to run on it. And I tried them all out, and I'm fluent in almost all popular DAWs, and Studio One just really shines for me. There's also TuneCore integration now, so if you want to upload your music directly from Studio One, when you can publish it directly like you could with SoundCloud. I don't know why anyone would do that personally. I think it makes more sense to just render the song out and then go directly to the platform to upload it that way. That way you can get your lyrics uploaded and your artwork uploaded and all different kinds of stuff that you can set. I also like to listen to the song after it's been rendered to make sure there's been no rendering mistakes or anything like that before I upload it. But if you like to upload things directly from the DAW, then by all means, have fun with it. You now have that integration, which is cool. Then lastly, there is a new way to pay for Studio One. That's the main chunk of the update. So we had the month-to-month, and then we had the perpetual license, but now there's like this hybrid plus model, which I'll talk about here in a minute. So first, let's talk about the synth. This is what everybody's here for. I think that this is the biggest hot button topic there is. So this is Lead Architect, and I'm still kind of confused of what kind of synth it is. I was kind of hoping for a granular synth, but this looks very much so like a wavetable synth. It looks like a wavetable synth, but I think you can load samples to this. I'm still confused of what it is. It doesn't really seem like a granular synth. It's definitely using samples in one way or another. I'm going to do a little bit more research on this and really kind of dive into this to figure out exactly what it is, but I've been playing around with it and it sounds awesome. I'll show you some tracks here in a second. First, I kind of want to talk about why people are a little upset about this being part of the update. It's members only. So if you have Studio One 6.6, or if you have Studio One 6 as the perpetual license, when you update to 6.6, you don't get access to Lead Architect, which is kind of a bummer. Now, this is nothing new for Presonus and for Studio One. We've had Studio One Plus, and back in the day, it used to be called Presonus Sphere. Now it's called Studio One Plus, which is their monthly subscription program. We used to have all different kinds of plugins, and still do, that are just for members of the monthly subscription, the Studio One Plus subscription. So having exclusive plugins is nothing new for Studio One, for Presonus, and for this whole ecosystem. But I think the way they marketed it was a little bit misleading, because when you watch the actual video that they released about this, they said, great news, 6.6 is announced, this is what's new, and then they mention the VST. And then they say this is part of the Studio One 6.6 update, then they say, by the way, members of Studio One Plus only. And I think that's just a little bit misleading. If they would have said this is the entirety of the 6.6 update, and also for Studio One Plus members, we have these updates, I think it would have went over a little bit better. That's just my personal opinion. But exclusive plugins are nothing new. And this is a pretty awesome plugin. We haven't had a new VST in quite a few years, so this is actually pretty cool. And so far, I like it. Another thing is to remember that the developers are not the marketers, and the marketers are not the business owners. This is something that Ivan said on his video, and he did a fantastic job of describing this whole thing as well. I'll leave a link to his video down in the description below. And he just said that like the developers are not the marketers. The developers are great people, and I mean, they're all great people. Everybody that I've worked with over at Personas, this video is not sponsored, and they have never sponsored any other videos on my channel up until this point. I've received no money from Personas, but I use their products all the time. This is their broadcasting microphone. I have the Studio One live mixer. I have the Studio One. I've had the perpetual license and the monthly subscription. I love a lot of what Personas does, and I love all their stuff. But I've talked with the people during the last update, 6.5, and I got early access to that. So that's the only time that I've actually really been in contact with Personas. My contact with them has been awesome. They're all awesome people. So just keep in mind that the people that develop these plugins and develop the software aren't necessarily the people that are making the decisions on how it gets access to people. And the business part of things is all separate. So give them some grace. So before I talk about the rest of the update and my opinions on that, let's jump into what this synthesizer actually sounds like, because I think it actually sounds pretty sick. Here's a track that I'm working on, and I threw Lead Architect on this track. And I think it sounds pretty awesome. So let me give you context of the track. It is a like metalcore style song, and this is what it sounds like. You wanna break my identity that I refuse to try to see your conformity. In the scheme of lies, I won't be a casualty. I will rise above and break free from this misery. Break free from this misery. So that sounds sick, but the main synth that I'm actually using is Lead Architect during this breakdown part. I layered it with one other synth just to give it some glide, but this is what the synth sounds like. And we have this button right here that we can actually drag around and change the different synths that it's using, or the different oscillators that it's using, or whatever these things actually are. Like I said, I still got to do some research on it and figure out exactly what this sounds like. But you can see they're color coded. So the Super Saw tape, or the heating oscillators, or the Rave Imperium. This adjusts the volume for those 3 different sections here. And you can get drastically different tones just by shifting this around. We also have our typical attack, decay, sustain, and release knobs. And then layered together with that other synth. Sounds pretty sick. And it actually really carries this part over here during this breakdown. Because during this breakdown here, there's nothing here. Just some absolute like smashing drums, low-tuned guitars. And then when the vocals come back in here, the screaming vocals come in, it actually carries this section out. And it sounds really good. It cuts through on a metal track really, really well. This preset specifically works really, really well for this. And you can move this around to kind of get more of a bright attack out of it, and you could slide this to get more of an attack out of it as well. And it's sounding really, really, really good in the context of this track. So let me play this section here, and you can hear when the synths come in here. Yeah, sounds sick. I filtered this section out here, so I just added a filter to those synths and then just kind of swept through that frequency there during this breakdown part here. Sounds sick. I'm really impressed with the synth. I love the way it sounds. I'm going to dive into it a little bit more and figure out exactly what it's doing and how to create my own presets out of it. But so far, I'm pretty happy with it. I just wish they would have been a little bit more clear on what this update actually was and the fact that this was an update for Studio One Plus members, not an update for Studio One 6.6. So next, we need to actually talk about the subscription because now there's a new opportunity to join Studio One. Before you had the month-to-month and the perpetual license, and now there's a hybrid model where you can actually buy a year subscription. You get Studio One Plus and all the updates during that year. And then if you choose to not join again, at the end of that year, you get to keep your license of Studio One. Whatever it decides to update at that point in time, it's stuck there, but you can always rejoin Studio One Plus in the future, but your license doesn't expire after that. It's yours to keep, which I actually think is pretty cool. And I'm kind of confused of why people are kind of complaining about it because they give us more options. So you see, we have the perpetual license, and then we also have the monthly month-to-month. And I've done both of these, by the way. I've paid for the perpetual license, and I've joined the monthly month-to-month because of the other benefits that I get inside of it. So now there's this perpetual annual, which I just explained what it was, but here it says you get 12 months access to Studio One Plus and a Studio One Pro perpetual license, which is yours to keep. So let's say it updates at Studio One 6.67 at the end of the 12 months. That last update is yours to keep forever, which I think is awesome. There's a lot to why they're trying to push people to go the subscription route, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I actually kind of want to tell a story about why I think this is actually pretty awesome here, this hybrid version. I was working in the studio with some artists quite a while ago, and my card had gotten hacked. They put a hold on the card. I basically had to destroy the card and order a new one in the mail. So while I was waiting for my new card in the mail, I didn't have the ability to purchase anything online, right? So my monthly subscription for Studio One ran up. I hadn't updated my card information, and I didn't have the new card to even update the information on, and I could not access Studio One. So here I am, artist in the studio, and I can't access Studio One, which is kind of frustrating. So I had to pull up another DAW, which I'm fluent in most DAWs. So I had to pull up something else, and it took longer for them in the studio, which is a little bit frustrating. Studio One's unbelievably fast. I'm also very fast in the DAW itself, but it was kind of frustrating for all of us because now I'm kind of fumbling around and my typical workflow has been disrupted. And so I think having the buy up to that year and then whatever it ends up landing on is yours to keep. So even if you do decide not to continue on with Studio One Plus, you still have that license that's yours to keep forever, which I think is really awesome. So let's talk about why. Here, let's get real nerdy here. Let's talk about why they're actually choosing to go a subscription route. And I am all for keeping the perpetual license plus the subscription. Give us the choice. If anybody at Personas is watching this, please don't take that option away. Please give us the option to either buy it outright or go month to month. For somebody who does not like monthly subscriptions, I think Studio One Plus is a fantastic deal. I really do, and I love it. I own Studio One, the perpetual license, and yet I still choose to pay for Studio One Plus because of all the extra benefits and features, which, by the way, bought the perpetual license after that whole shindig went down. Because I was like, I can't have that happen again. I really think it's a great deal, but I want them to keep letting us have that option. And I think having a third option just gives more people an option to join. So there's a bit of math on this, which blows my mind. And Ivan did this on his video, which, once again, link it down in the description below. You can pay $400 for a license of Pro, or you can pay $180 for a license of Pro, which is crazy. All versions of 6 are updated in this one, and whatever this one stops updating at once the 12 months is up is the end of it. It does not continue on. But you still get a Pro DAW for $180 one time, which is mind-blowing. Plus all of the benefits of Studio One Plus for an entire year, which I think is insane. That's an absolute insane deal. So why are they trying to give you such a great deal? So let's get into the nerdy side of things and why a lot of companies are trying to push this subscription model. Well, you can 8x the valuation of your company just by pushing MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue. That's what MRR stands for. And it's completely insane of how powerful this is. So according to stacksbill.com, recurring revenue can increase your business valuation up to 8 times that of a similar business with minimal recurring revenue. So if you have a business that's doing $1 million a year, but you're selling these one-off products, but if you have a business that is doing $1 million a year, but it's recurring revenue, so every single month, people's cards are getting charged for the service that you provide every single month, your business is valued 8 times higher than the other business that's just selling these one-off things. And there's a couple reasons for that. First off is it's guaranteed money. So there's obviously churn, people cancel and things like that, but it's guaranteed money. Because it's guaranteed money, you don't have to market as hard. And because for every new sale, you have to market to get another sale. But when you get the first sale, you get the sale and the sale and the sale after that. The second reason why it's so valuable is you get more customers because it lowers the barrier of entry. I have a lot of my students saying that they can't pay the full amount for Studio One, and that Studio One Plus has been an absolute blessing for them. And I know a lot of people that say that they are just so thankful that they can literally get a powerful DAW for $20 a month. A lot of my students go that route. And I think it's awesome that we have that opportunity. So it lowers the barrier of entry. Some of you guys are going to say, oh, well, how about you save your money and pay for it outright? Okay, so you're going to be saving for almost 2 years, right? A little over 1.5 years, almost 2 years to buy the full version of Studio One Pro. How much music could you have made and how good could you have gotten in that 2-year period if you would have been a part of the subscription plan? Honestly, really think about it. There's a thing called opportunity cost. That's an opportunity cost. You're 2 years behind now. Back when I started, there was no subscription models at all. In fact, like Pro Tools was $800 and Ableton was, $600-700. And all of these DAWs were very, very expensive. And there was no opportunity to get in at a lower price. And so I was running off a GarageBand until I scraped pennies together. And then I ended up purchasing Logic Pro. And then I started using that for a while. The barrier of entry was not nearly as low as it is now. So you get monthly recurring revenue. You don't have to constantly sell to new people all the time. You also get that guaranteed money every single month because you're not having to market and do all that other stuff. And it increases the valuation of your business and you get more customers because of it as well. And so it lowers the barrier of entry so more people join. So it's almost a no-brainer at this point in time of why businesses are trying to go this route. Because if the valuation of the business goes up, that means the stock price goes up and the shareholders are all happy, right? And then everybody's happy. People can get the platform for a cheaper cost. The valuation of the business goes up. Everybody's happy. As long as they continue to allow us to buy the perpetual license. As long as they keep that, everybody's happy. So I'm kind of confused why people are angry about the subscription model, this new hybrid model. I'm genuinely confused. If you can let me know in the comments, if you're the kind of person that's like really bummed out about this, please let me know in the comments below and give me a legitimate reason to why adding a third option to join Studio One is a bad decision. I genuinely need someone's opinion on this because I don't understand why anybody could be mad at this. We have another option to join Studio One and people are still complaining. So that is my personal opinion on the whole thing. I love Studio One 6.6. I love the update so far. It's very stable for me. Things are working very well. I love the new synth. I love most of the things except for that TuneCore thing. I don't understand why anybody would want that, but you know what? If you use it, awesome. Good for you. Besides that, that's my opinion on Studio One 6.6. And click here to watch Ivan's video and his opinions on it. He dives deep into the actual math of how much money you're really saving with the perpetual license and the hybrid model. And I still kind of think it's crazy that Personas is offering this for us. So have a fantastic day. And as always, go create.